Here are the highlights from our 5th annual LED Elite Users Group meeting from Printing United 2019.
So I'm going to start off the panel. I'm going to ask about added value and diversity to print, about what LEDs provided these gentlemen here, different substrates and so forth. And what's been the most, I'm going to start with Brad if you're okay with that, and then I'm going to just let it go on. What's been the most benefit that you've seen to substrate printing from LED, and what's given you an opportunity into new markets?
Well, that's probably the best question to ask me, because when I got together with RMGT and Graphco, I asked for the Swiss Army knife of equipment. We had to have versatility. I couldn't bring into a crowded market another device that just puts ink on paper. We had to be able to look at a lot of the different substrates, and I think that is one of the strongest points of not only LED, but the RMGT product as well. When you, like I said, are in a crowded market, you got to differentiate yourself, and we knew that our client base did a lot of products on plastics and synthetics, yet we didn't want to go the route of traditional UV. There's a lot of issues with the heat, the ozone, the cost of doing it, the chemicals. So we really were interested in the green aspect of the machine as well. So we run today a lot of plastic, we run a lot of UPO. We are stacking it almost chest high out of that press. When you're a conventional printer, you are laying those things out in about 2-inch stacks. You're sometimes hanging them on dryer clotheslines to get them to dry. We have not lost a plastic job in the 4 years that we've been running our press. It's been amazing. We've done some tough stocks. Anything with the word poly in it is a tough stock to deal with, and you got to kind of do a few little testing with it. But it's really expanded us as a company, and it propelled us forward with our clients to go deeper than just putting ink on paper. We brought a lot of value with those plastic products, and I'll tell you, I will print 2,000 sheets of plastic versus 30,000 sheets of paper any day, because that invoice is big. And as owners and companies, we like big invoices, and plastic just opens up the product line, and that's what we had to offer to our clientele. We support a lot in the retail environment, and you're going to see a lot of those products there, and so we had to have the device to be able to do it. So.
Great. Andrew, your experiences with different substrates and diversifying what you do on a daily basis?
Yep. We're a boring printer. We just print on paper. But I can tell you, coming from a Kimora, 2 half-size Kimoras, moving over to an RMGT, it was a game changer for us. We didn't think we'd be able to fill the work. All of a sudden, we're running LED UV inks, and you know, before you would coat it because you wanted to turn the sheet, and being able to turn that sheet was super critical quickly. Now it's dry instantaneously. We turn the sheet, and I don't know about you guys, but not having powder all over your machine is fantastic. So it's been a game changer for us.
Wayne, you've been kind of blessed with the opportunity to do some packaging. You've got some really, unique packages, designs that you've put together. LEDs help that tremendously, and you want to share some thoughts on that?
So we put in a 750 series press that has a packaging edition on it. So we have collapsible cylinders. We've got a lot of control with air on it. So we do run a lot of 24 point, 28 point. We can run up to 31 point. So we've gotten into the packaging market on some small run packaging that we wouldn't be able to do before. And now we're doing some packaging runs for, we've had a print operation that is in town that is focused more on the finishing side of stuff. And so we're doing a lot of flat sheet work for them, which has been really nice. So we're running beer cartons and soda cartons and seltzer cartons. And so what's nice about that is we can literally print those. They're dry as they come out of the press. They're being skidded up and shipped out that same day to them. And what that has allowed is our bindery to kind of catch up on our normal type of work. So we're doing that type of stuff too, but we're also doing pieces where we're doing some packaging for other companies where they'll pre-foil stamp sheets, and so with the LED, we're able to print on top of the paper part of those sheets, of the pre-printed foil part of those sheets. We'll put an aqueous coating over top of that to protect it, and it all comes out basically dry off the press. So, and we yet to lose a job on that, and those were jobs where we struggled in the past. A lot of that was due to the powder aspect. You're printing on top of the foil and everything looks great, and you got to put a little bit of powder on the sheet. And by the time you get the powder on those sheets, have built up static going through the machine, and now you got some patterns of swirl on the paper from the powder. All that is eliminated and stuff, and it's also eliminated throughout the shop, the powder. We do a lot of mailing as well too, so we print a lot of postcards, and we trim those postcards out the same day. They go into the mail section. None of that powder's getting through any of our mailing equipment. We do a lot of color shells. We'll do skids of color shells that then go into our copier area, and we do black imprint on our Ricoh printers, and we run that all the time, and there's just zero issues with powder going through so we can run 10,000 sheets of personalized printed sheets from the press and go back into our normal production without having any issues with what we're printing because of the powder that was built up on that 10,000 run. So it's been a real game changer for us.
So often we talk about how we blend the two technologies and how they work seamlessly together. It's a growth point for having a digital and offset press basically in the same press room. And there's so many efficiencies created by that. So, good point. I've got, from a sales perspective, what's the easiest way you guys feel you've gone after new markets? What is your approach? Do you say, we're green, we're greener? How do you go about selling your LED services as a plus so that maybe these owners here, printing companies, can say, here's how we do it, here's how we're going to be our marketing approach? Can you share that experience with us and your ideas to market LED differently than conventional?
I personally, just a little bit about our shop. We're a union shop located in San Jose, California. And the big push in California is conservation of energy. Maybe you guys have heard about PG&E shutting down all these places. Anyway, so we do a lot of printing for a lot of government agencies in California, and a lot of these agencies want us to print with soy inks because it's more environmentally friendly. Well, really, the educational part for us has been to talk about LED UV inks and how it's environmentally friendly as well, how it's low energy, low VOC or no VOC, and trying to educate them on that. And so that, for us, that's been the real challenge. We've had a couple wins, but it continues to be a challenge as far as being able to educate what traditionally has been print on, recycled and print soy ink. So, but it's just part of the educational process, teaching people about LED UV inks.
Yeah, for us, we do lead with the sustainability part of it. Again, as an owner, looking at the electric bill every month, compared to a traditional UV press, we're saving a ton of energy on this thing. Even considering I had an old press that sucked a lot of power, we literally added probably 40% in those first couple of months, and we didn't even really see our energy bill tick. We didn't realize how much of an energy sucker that machine was that we got off the floor. But not having to vent is another thing, and then the ozone that you create and all the things for your employees, it just creates a much better environment for them to work in as well. I mean, Wayne did talk about the powder situation, but we do lead with the sustainability of LED and the variety of products that press can produce for our clientele. The rest of it is just kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. They get their jobs quicker and faster. The bindery issues are almost nil. Again, I have not lost a job to offsetting or bricking, marking or scratching in our bindery as well. So on that side of it, when we talk to our clients about what's the value that we're bringing to the market, we're bringing you a very consistent product, and you don't have to dig to the bottom of the box to find that bad one, because top to bottom, they're all good coming off the press. So it's something that we just have the best equipment. A lot of clients may not understand that. So you got to go with the easy ones. And I think sustainability and what you bring to the marketplace as far as variety is really what's going to lead it for you.
I'd say one of the values that we try to put across is the environmental friendliness of the press. It definitely is that. One of the real beauties behind the LED is printing on uncoated stocks, and we work with a lot of ad agencies, and we've seen a little bit of a trend going back to uncoated stocks on that, and the LED really shines on uncoated stocks. We've done some pieces that they're looking for a tabloid type feel piece, and we run it on Husky paper, which is not a high-end stock by any means, but it's a good running consistent sheet. And with the LED inks, they literally dry on top of that sheet, and if you have a heavy black coverage on that, it'll literally have a sheen on top of that sheet. And we can literally run those jobs, back them up, get them into bindery and cut them, where traditionally we would have to wait sometimes up to 3 days or over the weekend before we could even touch and cut those sheets. So our customers see that as a value because the projects are so nice coming off on those sheets. The other selling aspect is we can quote jobs a little bit cheaper because we use a fraction of the make-ready paper that we used to use. We used to figure at least 700 sheets of make-ready on a conventional press, and that was sometimes maybe not enough. What the real beauty is, you can run 100 sheets, get your colors almost there, your first pull. You can turn around, take those 100 sheets, put them right back through the press because it's dry. You're just printing on top of dry ink. So now you run those 100 sheets, you let 5 or 6 brand new sheets go through, you check that color, by that time it's typically good. So we've used maybe 125 sheets total on a hard job. It's less sheets on an easier job, especially if it's a book and you're doing form after form and they're very similar. You're up in about 25, 50 sheets, you're good to go. So there's been a huge savings to us in the make-ready aspect of the job. We're throwing away a lot less, so that's another environmental, bent that we have to it. So yeah, it's just helped us out in many ways. And another, I think, thing that these guys will testify to is we do a lot of press OKs as well. And what the client sees on that sheet is what they get. It does not dry back. It doesn't change color. You probably all have printed a dark purple job or something, a dark blue, and the next morning it has shifted substantially and the job gets rejected on it. We've had zero of that happening. So it literally is what you see is what you get off of the press. And it's been phenomenal for press OKs for us.
Wayne, you mentioned make-readies and short make-readies. A little bit earlier, we kind of did a quick demonstration of the lithoflash unit. Andrew is a glutton for punishment up here, and he got to be the first lithoflash on an RMGT in North America. So, Andrew, what are you seeing for make-readies with the camera system today?
So, right now we're running color quality for a lot of our clients is not super critical. So, we can probably have a sellable sheet within 50 sheets, and off we go. So, with that, you talk about color consistency. Once you get an okay, you can actually scan the sheet, okay the sheet, and it'll scan to those densities for the length of the run. And so for us, we did have a lot of color inconsistency, and we decided to kind of buy out the problem. So a pressman pulling every 250 sheets, we were constantly fighting our old press. So this literally it's scanning and adjusting, and as you guys saw, it's keeping it right there. Even when it ticks up, it pops it right back in. And within 250 sheets, you can move quite a ways. So for us, it's been a huge win. I will say you need to be careful. We love the machine. Our pressmen can be divas at times. So when we first went to buy the camera system, you know, the biggest naysayer, you change anything with your pressman, what are they going to say? They're going to say, you're nuts, you don't need it. But our pressman, after we got the system, was a huge fan. He literally, you know, loads the file, he inks up, and again, we're at color so quick and staying at color for that run. Even he is a fan now, so it's been a huge win for us. So.
Okay, I guess, do we have any questions from the audience? Does anybody? It's Harold Carter. Harold just installed a 928.
Yeah. I've only been in the LED for about 3 months now. And we have the regular UV. And it is a power drainage on you, for sure. So with that, I have a couple of questions. Number one, were any of you in the 40-inch market with a large press before this? And number two, as far as the what do you see your ink cost versus the old convention?
Okay, one of the parts of the question, you can correct me if I'm wrong, one is ink cost, and what are we seeing on the ink cost side? And two, did you come from a 40-inch market and going into like a 9 series? I did. I came from a company that was big time 40-inch before we started Push Solutions, my partners and I. And so we walked into a small company, we bought it, and we had to retrofit it. And so we started looking at presses, and the discussion went round and round. You got to have a 40. We have got to have a 40-inch. That's what we came from. But when we really sat down with RMGT and Graphco and really picked apart the numbers, really look at your business, and we had to really delve in. I mean, we just looked at it from a surface and said, yeah, you got to have a 40, but when you really get down to the numbers, how often were you really running a 40-inch sheet? You know, what is your business like? I mean, is it in packaging or is it in traditional marketing items? You really got to pick apart how often do you need to spend all that extra money to be in the 40-inch market if you really don't need it. And we really thought about it. If we ran out to 40 inches once a month, that was big for us back where we came from. So I think that was an old way of thinking. Nowadays, the cost per printed sheet is really got to be calculated. And sometimes spending that extra money on those couple extra inches that you're never going to use isn't really worth it. So that's why we really looked hard. As long as I could print an 8-up signature form, I was good to go. So that's why we really stuck with it, and we put those resources towards other things. Or like I said, we went with the LED because this was a game changer for us. Was either going to make or break us, and we didn't want to overextend ourselves and spend more money that we didn't need. On the ink side, the question on that one for us, my partner, as much as I'm on the operations side, I like to think, yeah, we got to account for every penny. But at the end of the day, if you really look at the total sum cost of the job and the cost of that ink, even if it doubles, you know, unless you're running 1 million impressions and it's corner to corner coverage, it's not swaying it that much. Where you're going to gain those few dollars that people that's the one thing they ask, worry about the ink cost. Look at the productivity through the shop and how fast it's going to move from the press through the bindery and out the door, and you get that invoice out. Money sitting on your floor waiting to dry is money lost and money that you could be using for that next job, for the next purchase, for the next employee. And so for us, we really got over it pretty quickly and not really we're concerned about that. And I think now over the last 4 years, there's a lot of competition in the market and the prices are becoming more affordable, and they're checking themselves right now on the price side. So.
Yeah, I'd like to add that as well. If you're running this would be from the aspect, if you're running a conventional press at this time and you're looking at LED, the ink costs are higher. But like Brad said, at the end of the day, it's really not that big a cost factor. The huge advantage to the LED is you get every drop of ink out of the can because it never dries in a can. You never have an issue with the pressman skinning a can and getting a hickey or getting crap in the fountain. Now all day he's messing with that. At the end of his shift, you literally just, after your last sheet comes off, you wash the blankets, you shut the press off, and you go. You leave that ink on the rollers. You don't wash it up. So you're saving, 20 minutes there a day. You're saving 20 minutes in the morning getting set up, inking up, and all that. So the last guy leaves, the next guy comes in and just takes off running there. So you're saving all that ink that you're washing up every single day. That's waste. Every day you're skinning your cans of ink, and what you're taking out of the fountain at the end of the night, that's all wasted. So when you look at it, you get a lot more mileage actually out of the LED inks. And like Brad said, just having it dry is huge. You just don't realize that. Even on stuff like, if you operate a press, like if you have a heavy coverage job and you don't have your feeder set or your delivery set up just right where the sheets are landing perfectly, if they're kind of coming in and bouncing and the tail edge is scuffing a little bit on the back, you don't see that. You see that in the bindery though, when they start flipping through, like, oh, all the back of these sheets are scuffed. You don't have any of that stuff. So your operator doesn't have to be quite as capable. I mean, seriously, because that's something a lot of guys will miss, or gals.
More forgiving.
And I've missed it myself. And yeah, it's a lot more forgiving. There's just having a dry sheet come off. There's just a lot less mistakes that you're not going to see, but you're going to catch later on in the shop somewhere.
How long have you kept your ink in the fountain the longest?
Okay, don't let these guys hear me, but it's been over the weekend. There's times we'll run, till late on a Friday, and guys trying to get out of there, and we'll leave it on the weekend and stuff. We don't do it all the time. We try to, on the weekend, do a wash, put some fuel on, let that idle into the rollers, do some maintenance on that. But yeah, you can literally leave it over the weekend. The cans sit out. We have LED lights over the press area. You do need to check this, but ours will not activate the ink. Our ink knives will sit out there all week long and never cure on that. The ink doesn't dry on the back cylinders. You can wipe your back cylinders off. There's just a lot of advantages of time saving that you get, and just not having the powder. Oh my God, up in the press is just, to be able to run that press for a month and just your delivery is still clean. You can actually see through the glass, of it is awesome. It's really, really good.
Do we have any questions from the group out here? Question is from here, are there any of you running perfectors? You're not quite running yet, okay. Yeah, it's installed. Any good questions from prospects out there, or the people that are looking and considering machines from us? Okay, I've got a question. So when I'm selling LED technology to a first-time user, it's always the fear, oh, you're changing my processes. You're telling me it's better, but I don't know that I believe you because you're a salesman. But how simple was it, and was it, quite honestly, there wasn't even a bump in the road, but can you share some of that? Because I think that's a common question that, conventional users are having. So
to give us some background in our company, we had 3 of the Heidelberg QMDI presses, and that's how I started a company with one of those presses, and my partner's basically the same thing many years ago. And so we came from a waterless printing technology, so I had a little bit of fear getting back into a press that used water. But we basically replaced 3 QMDIs, and we had an ADAS 5-color DI press. We got rid of all 4 of those presses, and we have virtually doubled our sales in about 4 years with this one press. And our install, we were probably, second or third actual install. Second install. And so we were able to piggyback. I went to the company, I had the first install, I got some information. So if any of you guys are new users, you can contact me, or I'm sure any of these guys should share it too, and I'll tell you what I think you should at least start with that would get you off and running. And so I went and piggybacked off of somebody else. We literally, as soon as we got the forms in the press, we inked them up, so that ink was on there for a couple days. That was something they learned in the first install. And after the press was up and running, we inked up, and we were pulling clean sheets off like the first 100 sheets. I couldn't believe it. It was amazing. They were dry, they were clean. We still had some tweaking to do, but it was performing that well already. And the whole water, you hear this I hear that the water window is really tight. It's hard to run these presses. Well, I hadn't run water in 15, 17 years or whatever, and it's not an issue at all. Either we got lucky but I don't see any issues with the water window on the presses. Do you see that as no? I mean, zero. It just runs. The inks have been out long enough now that they've got the technology down on it. When we first started with the QMDI, with the waterless inks, they were not there. It was a good 2 years before we really had a solid ink that ran. Well, the ink back in 2015, it was already there, and we started out with really no issues. It's much better now.
I would also share, though, with anybody that fears that, well, who are the LED ink vendors? They're all selling LED ink now, okay? When we first started this, we had a preferred list of maybe 3 or 4. Today, it's bigger and bigger. So, I mean, everybody's R&D goes into the LED inks. So I don't think that's a fear. I did want to address Harold's question earlier about perfecting. The concept of LED curing is really based a lot on perfecting. And we have all kinds of successful users out there that are curing after 1, and then, or curing after 2 units. And then, of course, our long perfector. If you don't buy LED with a long perfector, you really got to question yourself, because that's really what it's done, is to eliminate lithographic issues, people chasing marking and all different things. But more so than that, if you bought a perfector and you have the 2 lamps, it's not only about that, it's even using in straight mode, you can do other creative things.